This is Sneaker Gears. My name is Levi, and welcome to Performance Gears episode of the Greek Freak 2. Now, as you guys saw in the intro, hopefully you guys appreciated the time it took. Just starting to get some recordings of me on court, so let me know what you guys want to see. I don't really have a cameraman or a team, so I'll try to do the best I can. But as always, we want to start with the fit. So how does this stack up? Let's jump right in. So just like the Greek Freak 1, the fit is absolutely outstanding. Now in the Greek Freak 1, this was probably the best feature or performance aspect of the shoe. On the Greek Freak 2, it doesn't disappoint. You can see Giannis's affection of Kobe in how his shoes play and how they look. It is still officially a low top, and what's nice about it is, just like I think in the Kobe 8s are the best example, it really pulls you back into the heel cup. Now speaking of that, it does have an internal heel cup. You guys can kind of hear it there. It has 1, 2, 3 different layers, 4 layers if you count the foam. So you really do feel secured in the heel cup as it pulls you back. The inside of the shoe, and you guys can kind of see a little bit here, this green portion starts here and really pulls you back into it. And then as you move forward of the shoe, you actually can see in the medial side here how the laces really pull you down into the footbed. Don't worry if you have a high instep. This has a natural or normal tongue, nice and fluffy, no lace pressure, as I was getting on some other shoes I've been testing recently. If you're a wide footer, this is one just like on my Kobe's, just like on my Giannis's. I go with my Kobe size, which is a size 13. I'm a 13 on, I don't know, 18 out of the 20 Kobe's. I was a 13 on in the Freak 1, and I'm a 13 on the Freak 2. So that is technically a half size up. My true size would be a 12.5 or 12 wide. So that means my toe is about a finger's width from the front. So for me, I'm comfortable with that. The flex that these provide, and these kind of little rubber medial sides, they actually flex quite a bit. Hopefully you guys can see that. So whether you have a wide toe box or wide midfoot, I think you're going to be okay. So the materials themselves are actually really nice. I don't know if it's a little bit nicer on this pair. There's a launch colorway, but it pretty much requires no break-in as far as the upper and as far as the fit. I think the cushion does get better as you play, and we'll get to that. But the fit on these, I think a lot of players are going to enjoy them. Right when you put it on, if you equate a comfortable shoe to having a great fit, you're really going to like these. All right, so going down from the fit, Nike didn't have to do much to improve from the Freak 1. The support was almost awful. The cushion was absolutely terrible, and the traction was, for the most part, bad. I guess if you're on a pristine court, pretty much all shoes do great. So we're going to work our way down, and this is an improvement on every single area, but again, that's not saying much. Support wise, definitely do want to address the elephant in the room. The last couple games, Giannis did twist his ankle, and as you can see in the video here, this actually has a really solid outrigger. Let's see if you guys can get it here, where the outrigger comes out really wide. You actually can see the base here has a nice wide base, so it does feel really solid. You feel really planted, but it actually does have that feeling of once your foot crosses over, it kind of snaps. And you can see that in the video as I'm kind of showing here between different shoes, and we'll have a comparison here coming towards the end. But essentially, if you jab hard and your foot lands on anything else, or you have that pressure where you rolls just a little bit, this is going to give you enough support, except if you're putting a lot of force. And Giannis is huge. He is very strong. He's very fast. So once you reach that point, the shoe kind of pops back. And if that looks violent, that's pretty much exactly what was happening to Giannis. The shoe was supporting him, and up into a point, pop, it just rolled right over. Kind of scary. I actually had that in another shoe. I don't remember what it was. If it was the KD12, where it was stable up into a point and then kind of popped over. So it's one of those, if you're not playing 100%, you're going to be fine. If you're in the league, if you're playing where you know you're going all out, it's not as stable as you'd want it to be. And that's only because of the engineering of this, because technically it's a flat base. It is a wide base. You have a huge heel cup. You have great containment. You actually do have a shank plate in the middle. You have that torsional stability, which they didn't have in the first shoe. And then I like how this is segmented, because if you do land on someone's foot, it allows your foot to flex a little bit more naturally. You're going to save yourself from possibly getting an ankle injury. So overall, this shoe is actually really supportive, except for that one factor that if your foot does go, it's not natural, it's not going to roll, it's not going to prevent, it's almost going to make sure it pops over, which is what you're seeing in Giannis, which kind of sucks. Now, as far as support, the other 3 shoes I really wanted to compare this against were both on price and specs. So you have the Kyrie 6 with Kyrie 7 shortly coming out that has also a 4-foot zoom, although it's 4-foot zoom turbo, and has heel injected phylon. So it is a lot closer to the ground. It's not quite as comfortable, it's very close, but you're getting similar impact protection. So you feel quicker. It's giving you a similar cushion, if not these being a little more comfortable, and we'll get to the cushion in a second. But because the outsole is rounded and because you're so close to the ground, it actually gives a lot more stability. Surprising. You're going to feel a little bit more planted to the ground. Now, you don't have as much lockdown, you don't have as much support overall, but you are getting a much more stable ride. Now, if we switch over to what I think is a lot better comparison, and that's going to be the WhyNot 0.3 that also has 4-foot zoom and heel just foam. You can't really feel anything. We'll get to the cushion here in a second, but those actually perform really similarly, except the WhyNot 0.3 is a little bit more natural. Your foot is going to roll a little bit, but it's going to be a little bit more controlled. It doesn't have that snap effect, which is kind of scary. Lastly is going to be the PG3. Now, I should include the PG4 in here, and both are actually pretty decent. The PG4 is a very wide base. You feel very planted. You feel lower to the court. The cushion is fantastic, but it actually doesn't have nearly as much containment. I did feel my foot kind of trying to escape the shoe. And if you notice, Paul George has actually been playing in his PG1s in the last few games. I don't know why he switched over. So he hasn't even been using his PG4s in crunch time in the playoffs when you would want the best you can get. And he went back to his PG1 guys, if that tells you anything. So the harder you're playing, I don't know if the PG4 is keeping up with the lateral containment issue that he needs. That being said, I'm not really afraid of rollovers in that shoe, but I am afraid your foot is trying to escape the footbed. Now on the PG3, that shoe, similarly, the containment from the materials isn't quite as good as what you're getting on the Freak 2. So it is a little more stable. The traction is amazing. We'll get to that in a second. The cushion is very similar. So if you like the PG3 cushion, you're going to like this, for better for worse. But overall, this is still going to be a little bit better than the PG3 as far as the materials, the containment, except again, you're not going to have that snap rollover effect. All right, moving down to the cushion. This is actually a huge upgrade from the Freak 1. This is very similar to the PG3, as we just said, has 4-foot zoom. Now you can feel the zoom on this way more than the PG3, and the heel cushion is way softer. I'm gonna say this is probably a Cushlon heel foam because you do feel it, but it is high off the ground. This is one of the highest platform shoes that I compared it to any other shoe where I felt my foot way off the ground. Now again, it absorbed the impact decently well. The zoom error, you can actually really tell it's only I guess unlock zoom in the middle, because you do feel it right there, whereas the sides, I guess it does lead to a little bit more stability, but you can tell the cushion is not there when you're comparing it to other shoes such as the WhyNot 0.3, which has a huge zoom bag, and you can really tell the difference in cushion and quality. Or even if you were comparing this to the Kyrie, which has that full coverage zoom, even though it's a lot less zoom, you can tell this has more. The coverage is a little more even. You feel quicker and closer to the ground. So this cushion, for the price point at $120, I think is decent, But if you look at the Kyrie 6 for $10 more, you're getting something that's going to have a little bit more coverage, a little bit closer to the court. You feel quicker, but ultimately this does have a little bit more cushion, so you can kind of weigh what's more important to you. Going to the WhyNot 0.3, that has way more cushion in the forefoot, and as I've played in that and it's broken in more, the transition has gotten much smoother, because before it was kind of a hard heel and that zoom air in the forefoot's great. Now it's a decent heel, but this is still a lot softer in the heel, but doesn't have as much cushion in the forefoot. So depending how you play, what you're looking for, that's something you might want to look at. Now if we move over to the PG4, the PG4 again is closer to the court, is going to have equal impact protection, and is maybe a softer ride if you're a lighter player, but ultimately they're actually pretty similar. For me, it's kind of hard. I actually used our Velocity Raptor insoles, as you guys can see in there, on both the PG4 and this, and they work incredible. It totally changes the shoe, where now this is close to a max cushion shoe, and it makes the PG4 one of the most comfortable shoes out there. We're working on production soon, guys, so I'll keep you posted when those come in. And then going to the PG3, I don't think it's even close. I think this is a full upgrade in the cushion department, and let's roll right into the traction. So as far as traction, the PG3 is one of the all-time best shoes you'll possibly find. It is amazing. It is consistent heel to toe. It is relatively durable, something you can play outside. This is giving it a run for its money in the forefoot section here. This grip is crazy. It is awesome. It is durable. It is on that level, but there's almost nothing in this heel portion. If you land on your heel in any portion, or you're trying to stop and you're skid, you get almost no traction here. Now, fortunately for most basketball players, and at least for me, I'm not really using my heel much, if at all, so it's not a big deal. But if you're comparing to the PG3, where that full coverage makes a big difference. Comparing to the PG4, full coverage makes a difference, but in the PG4 you're not nearly getting as much cushion, as durable, or as grippy. Now moving on to the WhyNots, these are actually very comparable to the WhyNots. I think this may still be a little better, but the WhyNots were neck and neck, even if this is a slight edge. And finally, the Kyrie 6 is pretty equal. I would say, man, just playing them hand in hand, I can't really give one an edge over the other. I really enjoy the Kyrie 6. It played better on certain courts. Now, I only have one court to test these guys on, so with COVID, I have access to one gym, and at least on that gym, these two are about neck and neck with the Kyrie 6 and the WhyNot or the Freak 2. So traction overall, I think I really did enjoy. It was surprising, a huge step up from the Freak 1 as far as being able to be durable, accountable, where you know it's going to work for you, and just having coverage everywhere in the forefoot, where no matter how you step, you're going to have that coverage there. Just don't use your heel. Wrapping things up, overall, for $120, you're paying a decent amount. It's still their budget shoe from Nike. Now, on discount right now is the 0.3 and the Kyrie 6. The 0.3 is going to give you more cushion and very similar traction and support. I wouldn't say it's a better shoe overall, depending on if you want more cushion. So for me, as a bigger player, I like the 0.3 better. Now, 0.3, I did a 12.5. Those run big. When I did a 13, they were huge. The 12.5 equals the size 13 I have my Freak 2, and I'm able to enjoy those pretty evenly, even though I will say the fit is going to be a little bit better on the Freak 2 overall, just as far as lockdown and containment. Compared to the Kyrie 6, again, because the Kyrie 7's coming out, you can get those relatively cheap, better materials. Containment is maybe a bit better on the Freak 2, but you're getting really good lockdown on the Kyrie, and you're still getting a much more stable platform because you're so low to the court, and those rounded edges do allow you to play a little bit quicker. Of those two, again, I would almost say if you're a quicker player, you might like the Kyrie 6 a little bit better, but this is going to give you a little bit more cushion on the Freak 2, as well as going to give you that low cut where if you enjoy that, and it is very stable. You feel really solid playing in it. It wasn't until you start doing some hard jabs or you come playing full speed that you notice that you kind of have that snap over effect, which can be scary. Now, comparing it to the PG line, the PG4 is going to be really good, and I think better for all players unless you're a bigger player where you need more impact protection, in which the PG4 I don't think is as good. And two, if you're putting a lot of stress where you are a strong player, jabs, cuts, the containment on the PG4 is good, but not anywhere near as good as the Freak 2. So it just depends your style of play, which one you'll prefer. Now, as far as upgrading the cushion, using our Velocity Raptor insoles in the PG4 made it amazing. Really upgraded the Freak 2, where the cushion now was amazing, and really you're left with just that kind of support issue where seeing Giannis having that and me experience it as well, even in just practice moves, noticing, man, my foot is kind of tipping over there. It's a little bit scary. You become conscious of that, and when you're playing and not thinking about it, I can definitely see how what happened to him could happen to other players. So you just want to be aware of that. Now, if you're able to get the PG3 on sale, these two are really comparable, but I will say this is still an upgrade in support. This is an upgrade in cushion, and the fit overall. PG3 was a really narrow fit, even in a size 13. A lot of content as far as what shoes we're comparing here. Guys, let me know what you think, what you want to see next. I definitely do want to compare the Kobe Pro Tros coming up here shortly, as well as have a lot of other shoes we're reviewing here. So excited to get back to more of a norm. Look forward to seeing your comments and seeing what you guys think. As always, I really appreciate you guys. This is Levi Sneaker Years, and I'll come at you later.